Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We have finally gotten to the spot where we're talking about the tools, right? We've been talking about forgiveness, lumps under the rug. What do you do, Leah? How do I help? Okay, so we're going to start the tools today. Okay, good. Get out your notebooks, get out your pens, and type in your keyboards. info@ladiestalkshow.com. Send your questions in while I'm reading. Okay, fine. Here we go. 5 forgiveness tools. This is Marriage Secrets, page 280. 5 forgiveness tools. There are 5 basic forgiveness tools here to give you lots of ideas to work with. Ideas of what to say, ideas of what to do, ideas of what to think, and ideas for introspection, and ideas for planning ahead. Some tools will work for you and some won't. Circle the ones that feel like they have the most potential for you, and then use your trial and error to hone down your forgiveness plan. Stay tuned. Your life is about to get a whole lot better. Okay. Ideas of what to say. Forget whether they deserve it or not. By forgiving them, when they don't really deserve it, Hashem will forgive you when you don't really deserve it. Number 2, choose to forgive. Make up your mind that you are going to forgive someone. Remember, forgiveness is an action, not a feeling. Don't wait for forgiveness feelings to come over you. It never will. Just act. Verbally forgive, either to the actual person or simply to an empty room. But there is power in verbally speaking it out loud. Say something like, I forgive you for what you said or did to me, and I won't bear a grudge against you. We now have a clean slate on this issue, and I won't bring it up again. It's done and over. Sometimes our tricky mind will immediately wish we hadn't said it. But visualize yourself physically closing a door behind you or closing up a suitcase and throwing it away. You are not allowed to go back to carry that resentment. You disposed of it, and now it is part of your history. Resist the urge to dig it back out of the trash can. Say it. Number 4, say it even if you don't feel it. Sometimes someone has wronged us or hurt us so badly that it seems completely impossible to get over it or get it out of our minds and heart. Are we really meant to forgive and let them get off the hook? But as we know, we are not meant to harbor hatred in our heart. So if the Torah expects something of us, then it must be possible for us to do it. Hashem will undoubtedly help us to be strong, to be able to let go, and will be quite proud of us in the process. Number 5, judge favorably. Give the benefit of the doubt. Recognize human frailty. Remember that there is always another side of the story, or think, under their circumstances and stresses, would I have done so much differently? Then open your mouth and say, I forgive you. Okay, ideas of what to do. Just forgive. Forgive is an action, not a feeling. Your emotions do not need to be on board in order for you to forgive someone. You can forgive someone because it's the right thing to do, because you want to clean the lumps out from under the rug, or because they asked for forgiveness. Just act, even if you have to drag your emotions along with you. Number 2, make up stories. One tool that can really help takes a bit of creativity. Make up a story about why they did what they did. Perhaps they only repaid half a loan, but maybe their child is ill and needs a costly medicine. Or a friend dented our vacuum, but maybe the dent was already there and we just remember incorrectly. The bottom line is, by creating possible scenarios in our own mind to mitigate our anger, we are doing a very great act of chesed, which is giving someone the benefit of the doubt. By judging them favorably, not only will we be judged favorably, but it will help to quell our emotions about the incidents. Making up a whole backstory can go a long way toward forgiving someone for what at the time may feel unforgivable. Number 3, look for the good. See if there's a good reason the person did what they did. My student's husband had always sided with his mother's opinion of hers. That was wrong of him. But even though the mother had passed away years earlier, the wife still resented her husband for it. The ultimate strategy that worked for my student to get over this grudge was to recognize that even though what her husband did really hurt her feelings, he was actually doing it to honor his mother, which was a good trait. He was just trying to be a good son. Recognizing this helped her to move on. Not entirely, I must say, but at least her level of disappointment decreased somewhat, allowing her to feel less angry at her husband. Forgive to be forgiven. The Gemara says, whoever is willing to forgive and forget, Hashem deals mida keneged mida and forgives his sins. Understand that the more we forgive others, the more Hashem overlooks and forgives our mistakes. So letting go of a grudge you are holding will result in Hashem letting go of a grudge he may have against you, so to speak. Number 5, the last one, obstacles to happiness. Try to recognize that bearing a grudge is just a big hindrance to getting to harmony in your marriage. Getting over these resentments by talking about them with your spouse or simply letting them go in your own mind is the key to having a clean slate and feeling more at peace. Woohoo! Okay, we got some tools to work with. What's the questions, ladies?
Okay, great questions coming in. Keep sending them.
Okay, good.
Tova saying, I dream to be easygoing and not feel any resentment, but I feel like it's a part of my nature and I'm just far too uptight. How can I change this?
Get in touch with the cost. The cost of not forgiving means you're kind of like, yeah, we're close, but you're not really close, close. You want to be close. So you have to recognize that when you are having those grudges, it's keeping you from closeness. So if you get in touch with the cost, lack of closeness. B, you're holding on to stuff and people get ulcers and, physical manifestations of holding on to this stuff. I'm not an expert on that, but I've heard, some experts talk about that, how we hold in our bodies. What other costs? Costs of feeling not menuchas nefesh, no peace, no serenity, no what is another cost? Another cost is that you might inadvertently attack or be angry for no reason. But the real reason is you've been holding a grudge and you're taking it out. It's coming out in other ways. That's another cost. And the last cost that I can think of at the moment is the cost to ourselves of a lack of feeling of a lack of mastery. There's just this, I've got this to cover and that to cover, and I just don't know how to do it. And I'm just going to throw it out my hands and who cares and whatever. And there's a feeling of a lack of mastery in it. Once you deal with it and you do some of these tools and you start working on getting back to harmony, there's a sense of self-esteem and pride and, just a satisfaction that you're doing the right thing and that you're living life the way you would dream to live your life. If you had an ideal of who you would be, it would be somebody who took care of grudges and took care of harmony, kept harmony in the relationship and got over stuff. It's just a sense of pride. So I hope those are helpful to you. Again, you're getting in touch with the cost. Why? To motivate you to take the actions that can be very challenging. Very good question.
Okay, so Bluma asks, I don't get upset at my husband often. So when I do, I feel like I need to hold on to my anger even after my husband apologizes just for a little while longer so he understands what he did was a big deal and a quick apology won't cut it. Is this a problem?
It's for sure a problem. I don't know how to solve it. So, part of the issue is something about it feels like a little like you're punishing him. You did whatever you needed to do, but then you're rolling it out. You're getting as much mileage, as much juice out of it as you can. Excuse me, there's part of that flavor that just something about it. So I think your goal, it's very good that you're not doing it very often and that, whatever, but your goal, I think, before you start expressing yourself to your husband and saying, what he did and what upset you and whatever, I would actually maybe go in and say, I need 5 minutes and go in another room and write down everything you want to say and say, if this is all said, would I be good with it? Would I be flat? Would I be harmony? Would I feel good about this like it's done? No, I'd also want to tell him that it reminds me of what he did 5 years ago, because that really upset me too. Do I really want to say that? Maybe I could not say that. No, I really need to say that. Okay, so you're adding to it, and then just calm, peace, think, have a moment of just calmness and go back and read it and say, what can I cross out here? And then cross a few things out. Once you've done this little work, sometimes it's 5, 10 minutes or something like that, you can go back to your husband and say, okay, here's what I need to say those things, and then maybe that'll help you to come to closure. And if that doesn't come naturally to you, you might have to force yourself to say, I'm saying this. Once this over, I'm not going to add to it. So again, this is just self-mastery, but it's also grooming yourself and training yourself to be as kind as humanly possible. Because the kinder you are to your husband, the better you'll feel about yourself. the happier Hashem will be with you and the closer you'll be with your husband. So good luck with it. I think it's a great path. It's great that you recognize the issue, and that's really often half the battle. So good luck. Okay, what you got, Gila?
Okay, Chadva's asking, forgive to be forgiven. This line makes me sad because my husband is the one who has a very hard time letting go of things that I do. Is there anything I can do to encourage his forgiveness?
Wow. So I understand the second part of the question. I don't see how that relates exactly to forgive to be forgiven, because forgive to be forgiven is we do that's a trick we use to be like when it's hard to forgive someone. You're like, ugh, I can't do it. I can't do it. But you know what? If I forgive my husband, Hashem will forgive me for something I've done. That's very motivating. At the time when you just don't you feel like it, you don't want to, whatever. So that's one part of it. So I get that. The second part where you're talking about where you say that he has a hard time forgiving for things and he bears grudges. That's a good question. And part of the issue is as you become more forgiving and forgive him more often, it somehow just works into the relationship where he also can grow in that way. It's not guaranteed, but very, very high likelihood. The more forgiving you are, the more your husband will become forgiving. So that's the good news. This is also something you can share and talk to your husband about. You can say, I realized that I had some grudges, or I realized that you have some grudges that you have a hard time letting go of. I learned some tools about, that forgiveness is an action, not a feeling, and whatever. And I just want to explore it because I feel like the grudges, when you have a grudge against me, it gets in the way of our closeness, and that makes me sad. And it's also like, I apologize for something and you aren't forgiving me for it, and that kind of makes me feel sad, or it's a loss, it's a lack. Like I feel like, if you were able to let go of it, I feel like we could be so much closer than we otherwise would be. So what do you think about that, dear? And let him, put the problem in his lap and show him that, that boy, this would be something valuable to work on. So you may not be the one to teach him. If it's a huge, block in your relationship for closeness and so forth, you might need a third party to come in and to help you because otherwise it might come out like you're blaming him for, he's like, well, you bear grudges too. Or, it could start, you don't want conflict in this thing. You want partnership. So, I would work very, very hard to, like before you have the conversation with him, maybe write down what you're going to say and cross it out. And, like I was saying before, just communicate it in the way that, would be the best for you. So for instance, if you've had a conversation with them and it really went sour, and you had another conversation and what was really successful, analyze the parts that went sour and analyze the parts that went really well, and try and, grow the parts that worked well and minimize the parts that didn't. That's how we grow in our ability to communicate with each other. So that's how I would go with it. And again, it is something, if it's really interfering in the closeness in your marriage and you don't think you can solve it yourself, or you don't think he's going to be listening to what you're saying, it could be something you bring to a third party, a rabbi, rebbitzin, a trusted advisor. Yeah, I think it's great that you understand this and that you've got a clear picture of what you're dealing with. And I wish you the best of luck in handling it. Take it slowly. Don't try and jump him, and don't, clobber him if he doesn't respond immediately like that, but slowly but surely you can definitely make progress in this with some forethought. Okay, very good. Okay, what else, Gila?
Okay. Ruchama's asking, when I tell myself stories to judge my husband favorably, a second voice says, who are you kidding? It's so hard to trick my own thoughts. How do I do this?
That's great. Well, again, I gave lots of examples of lots of different text techniques, and we're going to get into more next week. But every technique isn't for everybody, so that one just may not be a good one for you. I found that people who are able to, have a lot of creativity, a lot of imagination and whatever, can work this particular one better. So I don't know where you're holding on that. If you are a creative type or whatever, see yourself as a creative type, then you might be able to, this might be easier for you, or vice versa, or not, if you're not that kind of person. But the key to having success in that area is to kind of, it's not like put your brain on the side, but it's not really a cerebral thing. It's like an agreement an agreement you're making with yourself. It's like, I'm not going to let this bother me. I'm not going to, it's kind of like having some talk with yourself and doing some introspection, and trusting yourself, and being willing to take a stand for something that's important to you. So it's not like all the emotions are going to be there. It's not like it's going to flow. It's not like it's going to be easy. It's like, I'm going to do this because it's the right thing to do. I want to do this. And once you have one success under your belt, you'll find another and another and another, and then you grow yourself into the kind of person who is able to accomplish this. But Kulika vote for even trying. It might be easier to try some of the other methodology first, since this one is a tall order on yourself, and you don't need to, make it so hard on yourself. But that would be the direction to go if that's what you're determined to do. Okay.
Yakira is asking, I definitely do not want to bear the weight of holding a grudge, but it's something I just can't help but feel. If I don't act upon my feelings, is it okay that I still feel the way I do?
It's gewaldig. That's fantastic. Really? You feel like it, you want to do, and then you're doing the right thing. That's like the definition, like Ruth Salanter would be so proud of you. That's the definition of a success, is your whole goof is wanting to do one thing, and your neshama, your mastery over yourself is okay, I want to do the right thing here. So it's you inspire me. It's fantastic. Good on you, and keep it up the good work. And don't beat yourself up if the next time you're not that holy. But for now, you really need to pat yourself on the back and reward yourself, because that's a gewaldic thing to be able to do. And that's what our job is. The definition of a bad character trait is to just do whatever comes up at the moment, whatever, wind blows, we just act upon it. That's like the source and the root of all bad midos, bad quality traits, and the root of the good qualities, which you just exemplified. So good on you, girl. The root of all our good qualities is the absolute decision to take an ethical stand over your emotions. To always be thinking, what's the right thing to do here? Not checking in with how you feel and what's going on with you and what the circumstances are or whatever, but checking in what's the right thing to do here, and to put that, and it's obviously like, what would Hashem want me to do? To always have that at the forefront. What would Hashem want of me right now is the root of all good midos, good qualities. So that's what you're doing. Good on you. We're following your footsteps. We're going to try and march with you in this great, great mission you're on, and that we're all on. And Hashem should bench each and every one of you with a hatzlacha in this, and coming to harmony with your husband, and having shalom bayis. And let me give you, as Leah Richheimer for Ladies Talk Show, let me give you the homework. One time this week, when an emotion overwhelms you, do what you think Hashem would want from you. Okay, Leah Rich, and we'll see you next week.